Hello, everybody. Welcome to Political Football, the Super Bowl review episode. Where normally spend a lot of time talking about the Super Bowl, but I think for the first time in the history of political football, we had a not close game at all. I think we've had boring games, Chiefs Bucks, but I don't think we've had complete wipeout games yet in the history of the show until this year. Scott, you're old. You remember back when this happened every year, right?
Dave, I don't remember what happened 10 minutes ago. It's the wrong guy to ask. I don't know. What Super Bowl was this? Like 57 or what was it?
This was Super Bowl licks, 59.
Okay.
X.
I couldn't tell you who played in the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
It was the Chiefs and the Eagles.
Okay. It's perfectly appropriate for what I'm saying. There you go.
Cleve, you're famously a grandfather. Do you
John
remember
Elway.
all the blowout Super Bowls?
Most of them. John Elway was on the end of a couple of those, getting his ass kicked. But yeah, those were the days of the 50 burgers and the 40 burgers. So
Yeah,
it's been a while since we've seen one of those, right?
yeah. The first Super Bowl that I watched was the Phil Simms 22-25 against the Broncos. I think it was played in 87. And then the first one I have memory of watching. The first one I watched that I really remember being hype and excited for was Broncos 49ers. 49ers 55-10. They just put it all over the Broncos in that game. So yeah, it is nice to have mostly more competitive Super Bowls. Now, we will get to this game in a second, but I do want to tell you guys a somewhat funny but terrifying story from work today. So people don't know I'm a hotel concierge for my day job when I'm not yelling at people online about drafting running backs in the first round. And I have a really large desk because it's a giant hotel. And on either side of the desk are 2 4-foot vertical mirrors, and they start about 5 feet off the ground, right? So about my shoulder level off the ground, and they stick up 4 feet, and they're indented in, one directly behind me and the one on the other side of the desk, maybe 10 feet away. So I'm sitting there today, kind of prepping the show actually, and the mirror on the other side just falls off the wall and shatters on the ground right next to me.
Wow.
I jumped 6 feet straight in the air like a cat. Banged my knee all up on the desk. Oh my God. It was, I think if I'd been standing in shallow water in a pool, I could have jumped out of it like Saquon in his draft prep. I mean, it was the glass everywhere. So yeah, so I'm still in my work clothes because work tried to kill me today. So it took me a little bit to
what caused the glass to come down like that? That sounds crazy.
I think it's just whatever was holding it just got old, maybe. I didn't really investigate what the reason was. I'm just glad it was the one that isn't directly behind me. And I did ask engineering to please double check the one behind me because I would like to, not have that fall down and crush me going forward. But yeah, so I was very active in our offline group text earlier in the day, and then I went very quiet, and that's because I think Cleve said a prayer to have the mirror fall on me.
As a witnesser of said conversation, yes, that's probably exactly what happened.
Yeah, I was talking a little too much shit about Jesus earlier, and he decided he had to send me a warning shot, I think is what might have happened there. All right. Super Bowl licks. Chiefs 22, Eagles 40. Before the Lions played the Commanders, Cleve, I said on this show that I hope the Lions get the Chiefs in the Super Bowl because I think the Lions would win that game by 14. Does that sound a lot more reasonable after what we just saw happen on Sunday?
There's a little bit of lag. I didn't catch the first part of the question.
Scott, am I lagging for you at all?
No.
Okay, Cleve, that leg is yours. Close all tabs besides ours, unless you absolutely have to have them open. And if that doesn't stop it, we'll restart your StreamYard for you. And while he's doing that, Scott, I'll
All
throw
right.
it to you because you kind of thought the same thing as me. Did you think after watching the Eagles dismantle the Chiefs that, hey, yeah, the Lions could have done this too? And was that sort of what you were expecting once it got going?
I was expecting the Chiefs to be much more competitive in this game. But in hindsight, it's always good to think about this stuff in hindsight. There was never a possibility that the Eagles were concerned about the Chiefs running game.
Yeah.
Right. They're just that was never a thought. Like I can't imagine that the Eagles spent much time thinking about, all right, it's Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, and how do we handle this? So in hindsight, it's a great matchup for Philly. It would have been a better matchup, not better. It would have been a very good matchup for Detroit. With the injuries and everything that they had going on the defensive side of the ball, I think they would have stacked up fine against Kansas City. I think Kansas City probably does better than I mean, look at Philly's front four, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't know if Philly gets there if they have to go through Detroit. I really don't know if they do.
Yeah,
it's easy to say that, but
yeah, I think this game showed me a couple things. Is that one, Buffalo really blew it.
That was 2, a takeaway for me too.
Baltimore really blew it. And 3, the Lions really blew it.
Yeah, I mean, but those other teams are healthy. The Lions' opportunity is because you lose Hutchinson and Aleem McNeil and Carlton Davis and everybody else they lost. And you come up short in the playoffs. Things happen, but I do think that a one-off situation at home in the NFC title game against a team like Philly. Yes, Philly dismantled Kansas City and made them look bad, but it's a whole different thing. If you're at home with the offensive line the Lions have, with the running attack that they have, with the offensive weapons that they have. I mean, like Kansas City's running Juju Smith-Schuster and DeAndre Hopkins out there, and Kelsey is, you mentioned it weeks ago, he's just like dust at this point.
Yeah. Thank you. Finally, some validation. Both of you guys yelled at me because it came up like a 10-catch game, but he's dust.
It's the hilarious nature of Kelsey putting up a season that's still a pretty good season, but us considering him like completely washed, right? And that game he did not have a good game in a variety of ways, but I guess it's a long way of saying that I don't think Philly goes through Ford Field as easily as they went through Kansas City in the Super Bowl, simply because the matchup is nowhere near the same. And Detroit's strengths on offense, Kansas City has none of that, like none of it. So,
Clev, I think this means you are on your phone.
Yeah, computer's crashing out. I don't know what's going on. It's storming here, so basically dealing with that. Can you guys hear me pretty good or no?
Yeah.
You're pretty good. You're coming in pretty good.
Okay, all right.
Can confirm it is storming here. As Cleve and I live about 3 miles apart. So
yeah, just about,
yeah. So Cleve, we were just talking about basically how this Super Bowl matchup and the Chiefs making it here was a real lost opportunity for the Bills and the Ravens and also the Lions, but really the Bills and the Ravens, because I think that both of those teams would have a better fight against Philly than Kansas City did.
Yeah, I mean, I was predicting that, if you guys recall, because I wanted this matchup from 2 years, from the 2 years ago, but I think the other teams would have been more exciting, but I think any of whoever was left was going to beat them. They showed all year the dinking, dunking, 2 points here, 3 points here, shit like that. And I said, you got to jump out on them. Scott said the same thing. You got to jump out on them, hit them hard, and just keep pounding, which Philly did. I didn't expect the pick six. That was on Mahomes like, but they weren't even blitzing. They were, I don't know what the protection was. They weren't even blitzing.
Cleve, it didn't matter because they were getting there with 4 guys, dropping back 7, playing that 2 safety shell kind of stuff, and Philly had no concerns at all with anybody running the ball on them. So it was just like, let's roll.
Saquon did exactly what he ate clock. He got that defense tired.
And he caught 7 passes.
Yeah. Well, they tried to get him into space to give him the ball any way that they could to get him involved. But I think the game plan for him was perfect. They were going to put 8 in the box on him and let the receivers run wild. And Hurts ran wild too. I mean, that was a clinic of a beating. Clinic.
Yeah, and I left a couple of my notes from last week, some things I said here on my notes for this week. So last week I had written down that I think the key to this game will be big plays, which seems able to create more explosive plays on offense or big time plays on defense. Will be able to force the other out of the conservative way they want to play. I just didn't think that one team would make all of them.
Yeah. True.
Which is what
all of them that counted and mattered, right? Like
yes.
the big touchdown to Worthy is meaningless. Doesn't matter.
Oh, Scott, you're stepping on my stuff later.
All right.
Scott, they needed to save face. They needed to do something, but it was a little bit too late. And when the math starts mathing clockwise in the fourth quarter, it didn't matter what they did.
When it was 17-0, the Chiefs got the ball back after a kickoff. They took a sack. And then Mahomes threw the interception where he got hit and it got picked off by Zach Bond, like at the 20-yard line. And I was like, I think this game is over.
Yeah.
The Chiefs look like a team from the very start because the Chiefs are not just really talented at football. They're very smart football players. And I think the entire team knew, we can't block them.
Yeah.
And there's we're not going to go into halftime. Andrew Reid's not going to come up with something new. We know this game inside and out, and we know we cannot block them.
Yeah.
And they sort of played the rest of the game kind of feeling that way. I mean, Mahomes, that's why he threw a couple picks, because he was pressing, because he knew he was going to get hit. Which is, by the way, what I think you should do as a quarterback if you have bad protection, is not throw the ball away constantly, Aaron Rodgers, but try to do something.
Did you guys see the clip of Mahomes shaking everyone's hand after the loss? Except for P. Ryan. Did you guys see that?
No.
Yeah. No. It's kind of messed up. I mean, it could have been that he missed him, but he was standing right there. He's going on the line. P. is right there. He skips over and completely he looks at him and skips. And I was like, if he's blaming this kid, that's really messed up, because really, Patrick, protect the ball, make something happen, have your offensive line block, and your fucking defense show up. Because it wasn't on this kid. If that's what they're trying to lay this loss on, it was on Patrick Mahomes, because he played like dog shit.
So 2 things real quick. I mean, I agree with you that the entire Chiefs team could not block the Eagles. If P. Ryan blew a block somewhere, I mean, welcome to the club, pal, because that was it. That was an entire team effort. But P. Ryan, not young. He is 30 years old. Also, Cleve, I'm kind of leading the question here, but who holds the record for most rush yards in a single game in college football history?
In college football? Is it Vic?
No, it's P. Ryan.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
427 yards. He broke LaDainian Tomlinson's record.
Oh, okay. I was going to say LT. Because wow.
Yeah.
He rushed for 400 yards in the game.
427.
Or Jesus.
Impossible to tackle guy in college.
Yes. So even I don't think the Chiefs probably make it this far without Samaje Perine's involvement throughout the year, given how many close games they won and how much of a skilled veteran he is as a third down running back. So if that's the case, I don't think Mahomes should have been stiffing Perine at the end there.
Yeah, they had significantly bigger issues, particularly every offensive lineman. And yes, some of those guys are playing out of place. Joe Tooney's playing left tackle. It's just not a great way to go about things. They just did what they could do, but in the end, their 5 couldn't block Philly's 4, and sometimes their 6 couldn't block Philly's 4. And Mahomes had there
was no magic.
He couldn't get settled. He couldn't get his feet set, and normally he's able to come through in those moments, but not in this one.
Yeah, Philly set the tone, and they set the tone early. I think that pick 6 was really jarring for them.
Yeah, I don't know who Mahomes was throwing to there.
I was going to ask you guys, did I?
I watched a breakdown of the play, and that entire play was very well done by Cooper DeJean. So there was motion to that side. DeJean rolled with the motion guy, then moved up to play the flat, but one of the linebackers took the flat. So DeJean was free to drop into coverage, and since he didn't have a man-to-man marking anymore, he then read Mahomes' eyes to go to where the ball is. If he wasn't staring directly at Mahomes, he would have no way of knowing that he was going to throw the ball to DeAndre Hopkins there, because Hopkins was coming behind him and would have been open, right? And I don't think Mahomes expected him to be looking at him, because the rest of the defense was sort of a man defense, except for DeJean happened to be like floating around out there because they had somebody else for the flat. So it was like kind of luck that the Eagles had that coverage on, and that worked out that way.
Yeah.
But DeJean just made a great play all the way around and great on the return. And I had the second worst betting beat here, because if you remember last week, Cleve, I had Cooper DeJean Super Bowl MVP at 200-1. And I said he's going to need a pick six and then a low scoring game in general. So when he got that, it was 17-0. I was like, oh my God, give me a 24-10. Nobody else really does anything. They pick a defender to give it to, and I get my 200-1. But of course, that didn't end up coming through. The worst, though, Cleve, the worst beat belongs to our illustrious co-host here.
Yeah, buddy.
Cleve, do you remember the first touchdown of the game?
Was it the bomb to God?
Yes, Joe Cox slam. That's right. It was an absolute dust ball down the sideline. Except it wasn't. It ended up being a Jalen Hurts tush push, because after review, the receiver, Jahan Dotson, was down at the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
Scott had Jahan Dotson first touchdown 70-1.
Wow.
He did. He did. Guess what that paid out, Cleve?
What's that?
Nothing.
Imagine
a donut.
I mean, that is Jahan Dotson had like 3 targets the entire game.
Yeah.
He gets the downfield one. He makes the catch, which is 50-50 with him to begin with.
But that showed Phillies didn't care. Like they were taking big shots early. They were trying to get this game going, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Going back to what I said last week, I think it's the Eagles who look to do this early. I would not be shocked to see 2 to 3 deep shots to Brown and Smith in the first quarter.
Yeah, you did say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just, all credit to the Eagles. You know, I thought they played a great game. Some people thought this game was boring because it was a blowout, but I thought seeing the back-to-back champs get systematically dismantled was pretty entertaining and fun to watch. Even though there wasn't any drama about the outcome of the game, even like before halftime.
Even if you're even remotely interested in Jalen Hurts' story, it's compelling to watch a guy who's gone through the stuff he's gone through and just suck it up and pick it up and pick himself up and continue to play. And yes, we're talking about an NFL quarterback who makes a ton of money, but he was benched in college.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't an early pick. And for him to be as prolific as he was on Sunday was pretty cool to see.
Yeah. I wasn't mad that they won. I kept hoping that the Chiefs were going to have some Mahomes magic at some point to make the game a little bit more interesting. But then once they got over 20 points and then they weren't really in the game yet, I was like, this is going to be big. They're dropping a 40 burger. Like I was like this, and again, they tried to get Saquon going, and that really kind of worked out because that defense had to keep hitting him, and they were tired. And they were out there for a long time. When Chris Jones almost went down, I was like, if Chris Jones goes down, they're done.
Yeah.
They're toast.
Yeah. And just matchup wise, AJ Brown with really anybody on that defense is a tough matchup. Even if you roll a safety to his side, good luck. It was cool to see Devontae Smith score on the long one. Philly just kind of whooped their ass. It was I mean, they did. There's no other way to put it.
It was personal. That was personal.
And Cleve's always been a big Jalen Hurts guy. In fact, a lot of the reason why he took a while to come around on Tua was just because he was salty that Jalen Hurts got benched for Tua in the national championship game.
Yeah, but if you guys recall that game, he really exuded, whether he meant it or not, a true teammate, because he said how happy he was for Tua.
Yeah.
Where in a spot like that where you're back to back in this big game, and then you get benched in the second half of it, and to be happy for your teammate, man, that says a lot about your character. And then have to leave and go to another school to kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
And they showed a shot. I think it was early before the game started, of when they had the first meeting, and then as the team was on the field celebrating, he was standing like at the bench, kind of taking it all in, like, damn, like this is supposed to be me. And again, he doesn't show, like, I guess it's poise is the word.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll get back here and I'll get this done. But I mean, I wasn't mad at Philly won.
Sometimes that's the most captivating stuff in sports, is when they show like one guy on the field on his own 20 just staring at the other team celebrating, right? Like Hurts did that. I remember JJ McCarthy did that a couple years ago before they won the national title game, and it was like, it's just such an impressive thing to do, and a mature thing to do, to stay out there and absorb all that stuff. It happens a lot in the NHL. Like you'll see hockey guys who watch other teams. I mean, they're off the ice when the cup comes on, but they kind of hang out in front of their own net and watch the other team go nuts after they beat them to win the Stanley Cup. And it's just like, I can't imagine what's going on in their heads,
Yeah. And Hurts actually takes this to another level, because that photo of him standing amongst the confetti 2 years ago is his phone lock screen wallpaper.
Wow.
So he sees it every time he looks at his phone. And they actually asked him at Disney World, since he got to go because he's the MVP, if he's going to change it. He was like, maybe. I want to win another one, so maybe I'll leave it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
Great.
So, and Jalen Hurts, not only was he a great teammate when Tua came in and won that national title game, that game was won in overtime. Tua threw a game-winning walk-off touchdown pass to what wide receiver? What wide receiver for Alabama caught that pass?
Don't tell me was it Smith?
It was Devontae Smith.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
So there's a thing where they were hugging each other, Jalen and they were like, I didn't pick that up until you just said it just now, how significant it was, the way they were like talking to each other. And I'm like, okay, I think they played together, because I always thought that Tua and Smith would like that was the combo. Jalen was out of there at that point, but I did not know that. That just kind of came full circle for me. That's great.
Yeah. And then Jalen Hurts had to transfer to Oklahoma, where he did not win the Heisman Trophy despite scoring, I want to say, 8,000 touchdowns that year.
It's Oklahoma.
Yeah. I mean, he scored all, like, everything. But he didn't win the Heisman. Then he's a second round pick, which, could you imagine Jalen Hurts in this year's draft class, Scott?
Yeah, he'd be a pretty early pick, but the NFL is a different animal than it was even, when he was in the draft, which gives me hope. Like we're trending the right way with some of this stuff, because we're prioritizing the things that need to be prioritized, right? Like, he's a smart dude. He's a great teammate. He's a really good locker room guy.
He doesn't like Donald Trump.
I don't know anything about any of that stuff, but it just, from a football standpoint, he's kind of what you're looking for.
He has an all-female management team.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, there's a lot just from a football standpoint where you would say in today's, like, if he was entering now, you would, how do I put this? Everybody wants the next Patrick Mahomes, right? That is such an unreachable thing. Like, I just think that it's and a lot of the quarterbacks coming into the NFL now are playing that way. Like, they want to play superhero, and they throw from a bunch of different. Cam Ward's a perfect example of this. Like, different arm angles and making just ridiculous throws. But in the end, are you smart enough to be able to execute your team's offense and get the ball where it needs to go in the timing it needs to go? And to me, Hurts has always been that guy that it didn't matter to him about personal accolades or any of the things. It's just like, let's win, right? And
good team guys. Good team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very happy for him. I'm happy for Jalen Hurts personally. I'm not happy that Nick Sirianni gets to be Super Bowl champion Nick Sirianni for the rest of his life. Like he has just such a punchable face.
He needed to win that one Super Bowl to probably keep his job the next year or two.
I mean, it's Philly. 2 years from now, he could be the defensive coordinator for the Jets.
Yeah. We've seen
it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, it can go sideways real quick in Philly. But yeah, great win for them. I know we have some Chiefs fans that watch and listen, and I don't think this reflects on the Chiefs really in any way. I mean, this is what, their 94th Super Bowl in a row. Like, of course they didn't win them all. You're not going to win them all. You know, I don't think it diminishes Mahomes' legacy or the team's accomplishment or whatever.
You knew it went bad when one of the prop bets that you had mentioned to us was how many times they're going to show Taylor Swift. She got shown 1 or 2 times.
Yes, the under came through big time there. But again, part of that's because Travis Kelce is washed now, so he didn't make any plays.
He really, he struggled. It'll be interesting. The Chiefs are one of the few teams that you would expect to be able to figure things out quickly and keep themselves competitive. They've done this now with Mahomes. They've done it. This is like the second kind of team that they've had where they've had success. The first kind was with Tyreek Hill and all the explosive plays and the huge passing plays down the field. This is a more dink and dunk offense. One of the things that I think they suffer from is not being able, certainly in this game, is not being able to run the ball at all. Like, they just can't. Isaiah Pacheco doesn't scare anybody. Nope. And that offensive line's a problem. So it makes me, how do they figure it out and put together their offense going forward? Dave, I know you want to talk about Worthy, so go ahead.
Well, I do want to talk about Worthy, but first I want to say what I think the Chiefs are going to do in the draft. I want to call it right now, this early. With the 31st pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs will select Travion Henderson, running back, Ohio State.
I could see them doing that and trying to jumpstart some level of running game. I don't know about that guy being the guy to do it, but as long as you play him to his strengths, that's fine. And he's great catching the ball out of the backfield too.
Great in the pass game. He's going to test out of the gym at the combine.
Yeah, all the Ohio State guys do.
When he shows up to work out, we're gonna be like, oh that's right, this guy. Mm-hmm.
But
round running back guy, Dave.
What's that?
I thought you like a 7th round running back guy. I thought you like.
Oh, if I were GM of the Chiefs, I would not be taking a running back in the first round. I'm simply predicting what I think they're going to do, not what I think they should do.
That feels a little bit like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Because there's a reason Travion Henderson goes back to Ohio State to play his senior season.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason.
Yeah, he was hurt his entire junior year.
I don't think he's getting good feedback about where he was going to go in the draft. Right?
Yeah.
So I know he was hurt, but Quinshon Judkins was there all year too. There were moments where he didn't do anything. He wasn't doing anything. Yeah. But from a tester standpoint, yeah, he's gonna be crazy fast. He's gonna do all that stuff. He's gonna be one of the reasons we watch the combine is to watch his workout, right? Like, it's just kind of how it goes. But
yeah,
there's a bunch of running backs where I could see them deciding, with Trey Smith as one of their guards, and Creed Humphrey as their center, and Tooney playing guard for them. You need a tackle. They did draft Kingsley Suamataia from BYU.
He sucks.
So maybe, I mean, he's a rookie, so we'll see.
Okay. I'll give him a little more time. I forgot I thought he was a couple years ago.
He needs a little more time, but I could see them trying to be a little more power oriented with the way they run the ball. and I'm not sure Travion Henderson fits there. But there's a ton of running backs in this draft.
There sure are. Can I say Wanya Morris sucks? Is that fair yet?
Whatever you want.
Well, you're the offensive line guy. I'm just saying, is it fair, or does he need more time to? Like, he's a 3rd round pick. What, 2 years ago?
Who is this?
Wanya Morris, former 5-star prospect, chose Tennessee over Michigan. Not that I'm bitter.
I mean, I think I think anybody still in college still has some time. There's time.
Okay, so he's still got So they have some prospects on the offensive line that could also develop.
Yeah,
as well as addressing it in this draft. And this draft class is very deep at running back. Clev, you're going to love this draft. We legit might see 12 running backs off the board by the end of round 3.
Wow.
And
they're
in the first round.
There's a lot of dudes. Yeah.
Yeah. One for sure. Ashton Jeanty's gone in the first round for sure.
Yeah.
And there could be another one as well. So
is that kid from ASU? Is he coming out?
Scatabo?
Cam Scatabo. Yeah, he's in it.
Okay.
He's going to cause – there's going to be some upset people about where he ends up getting drafted, I think, because I don't think he's going real early. I don't.
No,
really?
I don't think so. No, he's he strikes me as very much having the same problem Blake Corum has, where his size is an impediment in the NFL, and his skills and lack of top end speed combined with the smaller size might just keep him from being able to.
I think in the classification of backs, I think he's a bruiser, and he may be the guy that's just, a 3rd down guy. Just I need a couple yards here. I don't need the big bursts, but I should, because we're going back to running back by committee. What the Lions did, which worked perfectly. So he may be just not that feature back, but he might be a bruiser where, I want to slow the game down a little bit.
And I think that if we're talking about what the Lions backfield, I think Cam Scatabo is much closer to Craig Reynolds than he is to David Montgomery.
Okay.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
He forces a lot of missed tackles. So he does that. He's got that going for him.
Great balance.
But, there's a lot of other issues inside his game that are missing.
Yeah, he just may not just have the pure athleticism necessary to just be able to hit home runs at the NFL level. And if you can't do that, you're going to be big time limited in your opportunity. But that's why I think he'll get drafted in the 5th or 6th round and not the 3rd.
Okay.
Right. His draft capital will match where he goes. But yeah, he's a pretty fun guy there. Yeah. Oh, I cannot wait for the draft. This year, a bunch of good running backs, a bunch of shitty quarterbacks. It's going to be like backwards over here.
Cam Ward is in there. That's my guy.
Who's in there?
Cam Ward.
Oh yeah, Cam Ward would be my number 1 quarterback in this class.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of like reaching in the bowl and picking up the shiniest turd. It's not really saying a whole lot.
He's going to be he's another one who's going to be a really interesting there's going to be a lot of division about him between him and Shedeur Sanders, and I think we'll see Jackson Dart rise for some teams. Ward can make every throw possible. He is ridiculous, but he needed 2 years at Incarnate Word, and then he had 2 years at Washington State where he didn't do anything really in the Pac-12, and then obviously the big blow up year in year 5 at Miami. So there's some, that's a story in and of itself, his path to Miami, and his play style is that of he wants to, there's a lot of want to put on the superhero cape and be that guy. And then there's Shedeur Sanders, who's a little more limited athletically, and he doesn't have great arm strength, but he's certainly, I think he's cerebral enough to function in an NFL offense and keep you in timing and in rhythm. It's just how much upside is there? I don't know. So that's going to be the,
There were 2 years almost 2 years where the offensive line issues, Shedeur was didn't have time.
Absolutely, he's been sacked 90 times in his last 2 seasons.
I don't think that's boss. Like that's him holding on too long, or
it's going to be both.
It is both.
Right,
Yeah, it is both. I mean, he wasn't getting helped, but he does hold on to the ball too long. Yeah.
Alex asks here, where does Will Howard go, and is his ceiling anywhere past average? No, I think that Will Howard has a really good shot to be all CFL.
Oh shit!
Oh, come on, man.
Fucking brutal.
There are 3 who at this point in time you feel like you're comfortable talking about, and it's Ward, Sanders, and Dart. Dart's going to get overdrafted. He just is. SEC, big arm, blah, 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 blah.
You saw I put in a bet for him to go first overall, right?
I did not.
Yeah, I got 150 to 1 on it. And that's what I wanted to bet him to go first round, top 10, top 5, but only first overall was the only market that was open at the time. So I just put $5 on it just because.
It's a reasonable dart to throw.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you did there.
I didn't even mean to do it, but wow.
At least Alex thinks I'm funny. Okay. Now we have to move on to the controversial portion of the program where Scott's confused, I'm right, and Cleve is wrong. So we're going to talk about the halftime show. And first of all, let me just say that this was, without a doubt, the best NFL halftime show of all time, even surpassing Michael Jackson.
There's no
and you do not need to enjoy Kendrick Lamar's music or even rap music in general in order to see the value in this show. The visual cues were enough. Now, if you do know the music and the visual cues did go together. Knowing his music and knowing what he was talking about did amplify the experience. But last week, when we talked about the NFL removing end racism from the end zone for this game, I had a whole bunch of things I wanted people to do. Jalen Hurts and Mahomes wait 15 minutes before coming out to play. Mahomes putting end racism in the back of his own jersey. And then I said, I'm also hoping Kendrick worked something about this into the show. And, oh my goodness, did Kendrick Lamar work something about this into the show? So, first of all, I want to ask Scott, because Scott, you are not a fan of Kendrick Lamar's music or rap music in general, correct?
Correct.
What were your thoughts on the show as a non-rap fan, non-Kendrick fan, and non-black person watching it?
Do I have to be completely honest?
Yeah. I mean, it's best.
I dismissed it entirely.
Okay.
I was kind of doing other stuff, and I listened to it, but I didn't watch it, if that makes any sense.
Well, that would explain why it was easy to dismiss. Have you gone back and watched it since?
No.
And Scott is the majority.
But I think what happened after reading some of the stuff, it's so far beyond my my ability to understand it that I'm absolutely not the person that you should be talking to. Exactly. So I didn't see the symbolism, and like you were talking about the remote controller thing. Like, I don't even know what that means.
So
I know I'm just putting myself on Front Street.
I'm laughing at you, ha ha ha. I'm laughing.
No, I get it. It's
because you are when I say the majority,
I didn't do that, for the record. I did not remove Clev from the stream.
He's out.
No, that was he sent Jesus to kill me with the mirror, but now I got him removed from the stream, I guess.
That's funny.
That was not me.
I better watch my P's and Q's.
So Alex here says it was too smart for general consumption, but it stimulated the most necessary conversations. And I think that's true. About art, about how we tell a story, about what matters. Ben says Kendrick did it. And so until we get Cleve back, I'll explain part of the reason why this was so impactful. Scott, and please in the chat, feel free to jump in with anything that I miss or overlook or whatever, because this was a Renaissance painting masterpiece of a performance.
So here's the thing. I absolutely adore that stuff. It's when it comes to like music and art and stuff. Like I could tell you stories about lyrics that I appreciate, mm-hmm. but it's like, all right, you've thought too deeply about that. Nobody gives a shit. Like my kids here are like, stop talking about whatever I'm talking about with this lyrics and song stuff. But so I get it. And I really do appreciate that kind of stuff. It's just some of the symbolism I think is just lost on a person who wasn't watching it and was totally cool with the music, but I was doing dishes. So it's like, I
can see Scott's in the kitchen doing the dishes. He's crip walking while doesn't even know why. He's just throwing up the West Side, which I'm not going to do on YouTube. But so there were a couple things here that I thought were very obvious and upfront. And one thing I will say, Cleve, I see where you're coming from, because I think what a lot of people took away from this was eventually Kendrick playing Not Like Us, dissing Drake, everybody chanting A minor and all that. But the will he or won't he play that song was the hype up to the show because of the lawsuits. The way they set up whether or not he would do it by Samuel Jackson, Uncle Sam, saying, "Welcome to the great American game," making the stage a PlayStation controller in a street, and then having Kendrick go through playing the game. So the first big symbol was, the whole thing was symbolic, but the first one that really jumped out to me in real time, because some of this I caught after, but in real time, was an American flag made of all black bodies wearing red, white, and blue prison jumpsuits. And it was divided with Kendrick Lamar in the middle. And right before that, Uncle Sam said, "You're being too loud. You're being too reckless. You're being too ghetto. Don't you know how to play the game?" The song that Kendrick then immediately played was his biggest hit, called Humble. And it was the first of at least two times I caught in real time where he appears on a surface level to be doing what he's told by Uncle Sam. But if the lyrics of the song show he's actually pushing back against what Uncle Sam is telling him to do. The next one, he's hanging out on a streetlight with his friends and they sing an a cappella version of a song. Uncle Sam comes back and he goes, "Oh, you've got your homeboys with you. You've got the community cheat code, scorekeeper, deduct one life." That I recognize immediately as a reference to Martin Luther King Jr. Right? Once you get your community, once you get everybody going together, the scorekeeper, in this case, Uncle Sam, right, deduct one life and make it harder for people to continue to play the game, which I thought was amazing. Then he gets into the X and performs a song called Peekaboo, a song about revealing truths to the world. And Scott, you don't play video games. Cleve, you're an Xbox person, right?
Yes.
Okay, so on a PlayStation, the X button is kind of like enter on a computer. It's the confirm button. If you're on a menu, press X to go to the next menu. It's like the select button. It's the one you pick to confirm what you want to do. So by being in the X, he's confirming the truths being told in Peekaboo. Then during the interlude Peekaboo, that's when he first teases if he's going to play Not Like Us to the crowd, right? From there, they go on to having SZA play Luther, which is a soft, slower song, and then All the Stars, which is the theme to Black Panther. Now, Scott, I know you saw Black Panther.
I did.
Okay, and you liked it.
Yeah.
And I assume because you're educated and didn't vote for Trump, that the character of Killmonger, the antagonist, was at least somewhat complex. You weren't just like, oh, here's a bad guy trying to kill people. You kind of were like, you could.
No, I totally got what his gig was. I totally got it.
Right. So the Black Panther movie, well accepted by Uncle Sam, right? Everybody loved the Black Panther movie. But if you listen to the lyrics in the first verse of that song, it's actually Kendrick pushing back against the way Uncle Sam wants him to perform. As soon as he gets done with that, then Uncle Sam says, "Oh, good. Now you're doing it. Now you know how to play the game." And then he gets into Not Like Us. And one of the first things he says, and these are all things I caught first time through. These are not like the discernments after the fact. Then when he gets to Like Us, he says, 40 acres and a mule, this is bigger than the music. And at that point, it became clear that we're all here because of the beef with Drake. But the beef with Drake is not about Drake being a PDF. It's about Drake being a culture vulture and pretending to be something he's not. The entire point is that Drake has no more business being a gangster rapper than I do, right? Not that Drake isn't black, but because he's a soft mix guy from the Midwest and a child actor who's now pretending to be some sort of street guy, right? But that's Drake playing the game. What he was able to do by saying 40 acres and a mule, this is bigger than the music, was put Drake squarely in the same category as Uncle Sam. That's the big diss to Drake. The chanting A minor and all that, I mean, that's very clever. Everybody's into it. It's a great song. It's a devastating line. But he finished off Drake by just putting him completely in with Uncle Sam without even having to call him out. Then he says, say Drake, I hear you like I'm young. He goes through the song and all that. And then he goes into DNA, where he pushes back against Uncle Sam, talking about what his makeup is, my DNA, what his makeup is, where he comes from, what makes him him. Then he goes into TV off and announces game over and ends the show. The entire show was a repudiation of where we find ourselves politically, where America has placed black people throughout our history, Drake, and how all those things come together as one. And he had Serena Williams, Drake's ex-girlfriend, crip walking during Not Like Us on the X button to put it on top. Like this performance was, I mean, there's even so much more than that, so much deeper than that as well. But that's just stuff I got with just watching it through as it was happening. And I don't think we will ever see a performance at a Super Bowl like this again, because hopefully we never have a president like Donald Trump again, who was present. And you can see my name here on the screen. At the very beginning, Kendrick says, the revolution will be televised. Y'all chose the right time, but the wrong guy. Like, and that's a double entendre. He's talking to Donald Trump being like, yes, things need to change around here, but you're not the one to do it. He's also talking to Uncle Sam being like, you think I'm the one to try, but I'm not. Like, it was just through and through, just a phenomenal performance. And so that's why I really encourage everybody to go back, rewatch it through this lens to see exactly just how devastating a diss this was of Drake, the United States government currently, the United States government historically, and how black people have been treated for simply wanting to be equal in this country for forever. And he dissed them all equally and all together and all at once in like 15 minutes.
That's a lot. There's a lot going on there too.
Yeah, see, and that's kind of what I was saying on text today. We were going, I don't know if you got to read any of it, Dave and I, on our usual.
I did.
Our usual fest that we go through. Two things, and I'm gonna go back to the beginning. I would seriously disagree about best show ever, because I think there's Michael Jackson and Prince, and then there's a grenade after that for anybody else to fall into place. Michael Jackson is the reason why we have Super Bowl performances. For those in the chat or those who are listening don't know, is the reason why in 1993, the very first Super Bowl performance, and for 6 fucking minutes, the guy just stood there. 3 minutes, he had his head to the right, and then the other 3 minutes, took the shades off, head to the left. And the crowd was passing out, people putting into ambulances and the whole nine, superstar shit. Like, so no political statements made. And again, I'm speaking for myself, not speaking for political football, Scott or Dave. There's a time and place for that stuff. I'm here to watch a game. I'm not here to take a Rosetta Stone and decipher everything you just broke down, because I just didn't have the time. What was the show, about 8 minutes long or whatever? I don't even know how long it was. I watched it, and I did catch some things, and some things went over my head completely because I had to be watching on TikTok. But again, for me, I just don't like mixing, like how you like your vegetables or your meat to not touch. I don't want certain things touching for me. And again, it just wasn't the place and time for me to be deciphering all of that on the fly, trying to make sense of it.
So a couple things to push back there. One, anytime you have the chance to have 1 billion people watching you and to be performing live in front of the fascistic president of the United States of America is a good time for a protest. That is probably the best time, because the best thing you could do is to get a bunch of eyes on you there, right? Like that is the time for it, right? It's not like the privacy of your own home, because who cares? Cleve, can you see the screen I'm sharing right now when you're on your phone?
Yeah, I see a lot of people, and what I can only assume is the past Super Bowl performances, the artists.
No, it's the I don't like the halftime show with all the stereotypical white people with their sunglasses and their pickups, except the entire middle row is you from Instagram.
Oh no!
I might have reached out to Jake after our text conversation.
Oh boy!
Hey, that's good. I don't think liking is probably a strong word. I think people either kind of sided with Scott's, like how Scott took it, where it wasn't his cup of tea, and for me, I wasn't there for that to digest a lot of it. Like a lot, that's a lot of information, Dave. And from the masterpiece component of what you're saying, to put all of that together, yeah, that's skillful, that's artful. I get that. But again, I just wasn't there for that. I wasn't prepared for that, because again, I live in my own skin and I understand some of the things that are going on. That was more like this generation of the Kendrick Lamar fans. I mean, I don't know what his demographic actually is, but it just didn't hit the way it was for me. And again, you explained it. I watched it again through a different lens. It just wasn't for me.
How old do you think that how old do you think Kendrick Lamar is?
I would say either late 20s or early 30s, like early about there.
He was born in 1987. He is 4 years younger than me. He is 38.
38. Okay, so he's not quite 40 yet. I don't.
But late 30s, solid millennial. This is not a Gen Z. This is not a Gen Z beef. Drake was born in 86.
I don't. Okay, so quick fact: I used to rap, right, and actually really good at it at one point.
Scott missed a gold opportunity to be like, yeah, of course you did.
And when it comes to the consciousness of lyrics, I get it. But what happens with that stuff is that it kind of goes over a lot of people's heads. And I'll give you a perfect example. I'll give you some bars that I wrote in 1990 as a 16-year-old that Scott might not get any of it, but Dave, you're cerebral enough to kind of digest this stuff, right? Okay.
Did you just call me dumb?
No.
No, he just called you white, but with the way we talked, it does seem interchangeable from time to time. Our apologies.
Okay, so this is how, and this is for Scott to digest this, and this is going to prove my point of why Scott probably wasn't listening to any of this, right? Okay. In the 666, the art of technology still exists. The diabolical, biological, planned, psychological warfare, computer hardware is his biz. Open your mind, black man. That's where the weapon is. The strength is your kids. Teach you to teach the illusion where evolution lies. Freedom is the prize revolution buys. To this king who walks in and talks it intelligent. But most can't escape the mental slave state. Now it's irrelevant. Trapped in this element, an urban cement with anger to vent, or time to prevent. I wrote that as a 16-year-old. Scott might have caught the words in there, but you, Dave, you probably caught the meaning.
Yeah, you're talking about how technology is being used to dumb people down and not pay attention to the struggles they actually need to be fighting because they're too content with the tech being put in front of them, specifically young black men.
Yes. So open your mind, black man. That's where the weapon is. The strength is your kids. Raise your kids. Teach them to teach the illusion where evolution lies. Freedom is the prize revolution buys. See, I was 16 when I wrote that. those bars. 16 years old in high school. And again, I was a pretty good rapper. I got a lot of demo tapes still, all that type of shit. But again, my cup of tea, my music was a lot, I guess, like Kendrick's in a way, but it wasn't, the masses didn't digest most of that because it wasn't written in a certain way.
So Alex says congruent with Kendrick's message, which is true. I mean, the final song he played is called TV Off.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. And so yeah, very, very congruent. Ben asked, "Are you Kanye's cousin?"
Huh?
Oh boy.
I was a really good rapper, Dave. I'm telling you, I was really, bro.
Yeah, that's pretty good bars for 16.
Yeah, for 16. Oh, it got more complex as I got older because when you read more, you're exposed to more, and you kind of like your flow becomes more evolved. I told you this offline. I'm good friends with Lauryn Hill, and I knew her back in high school when she was on the soap operas before she got on the Fugees, and I actually rapped with them at my like a college concert back in the day. I'll share some pictures and stuff.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so
that's insane. I think Lauryn Hill's one of the most talented musicians of all time.
Yeah, and at the time she didn't know who she was going to be. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just a band of merry men here. But again, when it comes to rap music, right? You're not going to get everybody, but when it comes to a certain type of rap music, man, like a lot of people were lost in that. And like you said, artful, skillful. I went back to watch it today after we were kind of going back and forth, and I didn't know. I thought the board was Squid Games, but then I didn't realize it was a PlayStation. The PlayStation setup, like the triangle, square, circle. And you know, I didn't realize that until I watched it again. I'm like, okay, he's on the board game. I mean, I'm sorry, on the controller, which is like is very, very like I said, I missed that because I wasn't sitting in there in that mind state to say, oh, I'm going to be digesting all of these messages. You know, it was music. A couple of his songs I know, a lot of it I don't know because I'm not a particular fan of his music. Not that it's bad or good, it's just not my cup of tea.
Okay, Scott, you're about to drop off, correct?
Yes, I am.
Cleve, would you like to continue discussing rap music on air here?
Yeah, we can do it.
All right. Well, we're gonna do that, Scott. We will see you next week where we discuss the coaching hires of the NFL. And please bring the bars you wrote when you were 16.
No. Goodbye.
Bye, Scott.
Later, Scott.
And then I'm gonna do. Oh, that's not right. That's what I meant. So people can see a bit better. So yeah, so that's yeah, so Alex here makes a good point. He says, I caught 30 messages and learned 30 more the next day. I mean, I went through it for like 10 minutes and touched on maybe half of what I figured out so far. I just went through the stuff I sort of picked up on as it was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, like you pointed out Squid Games, and I think that's correct. Now, did you watch Squid Games?
Yeah. I'm a fan.
Yeah, and you're all caught up, right, to where they are now?
I think I'm like the last episode of the second one. Like,
so yeah. So if you haven't watched Squid Games, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Squid Games are an analogy for living under capitalism in the first place.
Mm.
So I think the reason that this performance felt like Squid Game is that capitalism is oppressive, which is the lesson of Squid Game, and being black in America is oppressive, which is the lesson of the show, of the performance. And the backup dancers are in prison jumpsuits, and then of course in Squid Games they're locked in and can't go anywhere. They're not in prison per se, but they are prisoners. Correct. So I think it makes sense why you immediately like thought of that sort of symbolism there. Somebody at our viewing party thought the same thing.
Yeah. Like I'm woke enough. If that's the vernacular people use nowadays, I'm woke enough to know certain things. And again, I just think that, you know, as skillful and as artful as it was, it just missed a lot of people because they weren't the average people that were watching the Super Bowl who actually paid for a Super Bowl ticket. They were going to miss that message because they just were, you know.
But the the more important point is how many people who never would have seen that performance if it had been performed anywhere else did see it goes at the Super Bowl, and how long will this performance last into the future and its relevance last in the future because it was performed at the Super Bowl. Like, that's the thing. The fact this happened at the Super Bowl will keep this specific protest and performance relevant much longer than if he had done it literally anywhere else, at the Grammys, at anywhere. So yeah, Paul says not every performance is for every person, though. Alex says the value greater than missed value. Paul says, like the Rolling Stones were for your 15-year-old black kid, this one was. And I agree with that. And also, this performance is timeless and will able to be studied and analyzed going forward the same way all great art is now studied and analyzed going forward. Like, this really was a Renaissance masterpiece level piece of art. And I go to the museum 3 or 4 times a year to look at Renaissance art and break it down and analyze what it means and all that. I mean, it's just an amazing art. And again, with Trump being there, for him to do it right there with him there. Did Donald Trump get it? Probably not.
No. Yeah, he didn't.
But he probably got that it wasn't for him. You know what I mean? He probably got that it wasn't meant to include him, which is kind of the point. Jake shared a meme today that said the halftime show was meant for people who understand how a tariff works.
I don't think a lot of people do know how to.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and then Alex, makes one imagine only producing art that everyone can digest. I mean, that's how you end up with Maroon 5. Nickelback. Vanilla Ice.
Oh man.
Ja Rule. No, that's unfair to Ja Rule. I have to diss Ja Rule because of the whole Ja Rule Eminem thing, but that's unfair to Ja. Ja made some decent music. Yeah, I knew you right back in the days. I knew you knew Lauryn Hill, but I didn't know you actually performed with her. That is really cool.
Yeah, I didn't it's funny. Like for me it was a cool thing to do in high school and in college, but I never thought of it. I mean, I've been in recording studios and all that, but I never thought of it as like, oh, I want to be a rapper. I never thought of it like that. The people that I was around did. And the people around, you know how like someone's a very good basketball player, football player, but they don't take it as serious. They're like they can play, but it's like it's not their thing. Like they would be happy just getting, an education at the college or whatever, or get some NIL.
Yep.
Kind of like liking myself to like it was great. I still can write 16 bars like that, stuff like that. I love good music. I was talking to a cousin a little while ago, and I was going back through like the music that I grew up on, and a lot of it I dismiss now. I like NWA. I dismiss all this shit now because it was probably a time that I could relate to it. But then it's like when I'm older now, I'm like, shit, this was misogynist. This was homophobic. This was terrifying. Like I look at it like I've evolved as a person. I've evolved. Like, I like Nas. I've always liked Nas. Like, so it's just like certain types of things that you're into as an art or whatever it is, it you should grow with it. All right. My daughter, when she was 6 years old, she explained to me what love is, like, right? Because she said to me one time, "What is love?" And I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, like, "What is love?" And I was going through a breakup, and she was like, "Well, you guys broke up because you guys didn't love each other." I said, "No." I said, and I'm thinking like, did I, were we like bad around this kid? And it wasn't that. She takes her easel out and she writes LOVE and then EVOL, and she put like I guess like circles around it or whatever. She goes, "That there," and I go, "I don't get it." She goes, EVOL is the root word for evolution. In order for someone to love or be loved, you have to evolve. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I'm like, who taught you that? She said, I just think about stuff like that. She's kind of like I'd love for you to meet her one day. She's a little marvel of a kid. She's 30. She's going to be 30 years old now. So she's not far from a kid anymore. But it's just like how people think. I think Kendrick did a really good job for people like us, like for us to get it and hopefully bring in people that don't get it and people who are experiencing now, because I think a lot of people are getting a lot of like an awakening of what they voted for. And how it's like, oh, wait a minute, so this guy doesn't really care about me. We just saw probably one of the most powerless plays for a presidency ever, with a president sitting at a desk that he addresses the nation from, sitting very mute, and someone else running the show and having their kid like that kid should have been out of the room. Just for the respect for the adults in the room, and the kids cursing at him, the kids saying, "You're not the president." Like it's this kid is a fly on the wall somewhere and hearing some things or seeing some things, and it's just very interesting when this bromance falls apart. Guess who's the ones picking up all the broken pieces here? The American people, because this ain't gonna last long. It's only been 15, 16 days. We got quite a bits to go.
Yeah, it's gonna be only like 1,370 days left. Yeah, no, and the thing is, I don't think it's gonna matter because a lot of people who support Trump, they're all in a cult. So for the diehard people, it won't matter that nothing ever gets better for them, or nothing ever changes, or nothing ever improves. They will just continue to always support him no matter what. The thing is that the margins need to be big enough so that when massive protests do happen, we're able to like ensure we have elections going forward. And we can ensure that we still have self-governance, which I would argue that right now we actually don't have self-governance with Elon Musk and his Doge people having the access they do, being unelected. I don't think we have self-governance right now. I think we're actually being governed by Elon Musk. And that is obviously not good. So I'm hoping that we do get like a good, at least like 58 to 62% of the population agree on board, pushing all in the same direction when the time comes to ensure we have free and fair elections for the midterms. GOP gets swept out like they're obviously going to, and then we can protect elections going forward. And in 2028, current Maryland Governor Wes Moore becomes president.
I mean, we're 3 years from that, and it's going to be a rough go. It's going to be a rough go for everybody involved. Like I said, this is political football. We kind of made the show when we created the show a few years ago now.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah, we under the premise that we were the people that weren't with us in the beginning, we were a lot more political. And then we kind of slid stuff in there when we could, because we had a normal situation. Then the pandemic hit, and that was great. But I just think with what's going on in America now, things are getting loud, and there's gonna be a tipping point. And I'm just hoping that the people that kind of wanted this, that you kind of, it's one of those things where you wish you asked for something, and your parents are like, you know what, you asked for this, Dave. This is what you asked for. Because a lot of people are seeing that they don't care. You're not in that upper crust of it, and you got pretty much tricked into saying, hey, I'll get your eggs lower, I'll get your bacon lower, whatever, I'll get your gas lower. I just need your vote. And then you voted for something, and you're thinking that again, to wipe out waste in the government. I'm for that. Those resources and monies can go somewhere else, for the most part. But just kind of like the way, like I think you always say it right, is the execution is always wrong. Like on how, because even a bad plan can be greatly executed.
Yeah.
But a poor plan can't be greatly executed.
Yes. And so this is a thing. I like to do this with a lot of people just to gauge, because I'll say, before I ask the question, it's kind of leading. There's a real misconception out there about what I'm about to ask. So the first question is, what percentage of the United States annual budget do you think goes to foreign aid?
The percentage? I mean, if I had to shoot in the dark, I would say under 10%.
Give me an exact number.
shooting in the dark, 6.25, 6.
6%. How much of our annual budget do you think should go to foreign aid?
Foreign aid, I would say a good solid 25%.
So you think that the number should be increased even from the 6% where it's at up to like a quarter of the budget being spread around the world, which nothing's that altruistic. Like we're buying influence basically, but yes.
I'm foreign born, and people, you guys know this, whatever. I'm from a democratic country now, but it was under British rule when my parents were little kids. And, we rely on the aid of America and a couple of things like that. It's just kind of like what it is.
So the real answer of what percentage of the U.S. annual budget goes to foreign aid is 0.7%.
Wow. So it's it's pocket change.
It's a rounding error.
it's pocket change.
So when Elon Musk comes in and he goes, "Oh, we're going to USAID. We're going to get rid of all this wasteful." There isn't any. Like there isn't any at all. In fact, even for what you just said, it should be like 25%.
Yeah.
To what you said, and again, like you just said, I'm foreign born from a democracy. American money really helps because the thing is, like, to paraphrase the great American poet Sir Mix-a-Lot, if we toss it and leave it, China will pull up quick to retrieve it. And so, like, if we stop giving money to these places, up developing these places, somebody's going to move in there and take over that. So I agree with you. The money should be greatly increased. Even for me, I think 25% is pretty high, and I'm pretty high on foreign aid. But what you basically said, it should be about 4 times what it currently is.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with that. If it went from 0.7% to like 3.5% of the budget being foreign aid, I think that would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really good. And then Paul makes the point here too. He says government waste is a stalking horse for take money away from poor people, which is exactly right. Like when you use the term government waste, I know like you're like actually saying it in good faith, but when Musk and them use it, they mean it in bad faith. They do mean like slashing SNAP benefits and Medicaid and harming people.
Yes, I mean, for me, government waste. I mean, I don't know if anybody in the chat has ever tried to get a government contract to do stuff. I'm a trainer, and I did do some work with Homeland Security several years ago, and I was directed on getting a contract, and the amount of money that is given in these contracts, once you can show that you're a viable company, is absolutely astronomical. Like, I mean, you can get millions. I mean, I think the movie War Dogs kind of touched on it. If you guys ever saw War Dogs, where the scene when they underbid by like $30 million because they just didn't know. That's like a real thing.
Yep.
And there's when money's being paid out where things aren't being checked, the checks and balances are not there. That's what I'm referring to. I'm referring to creating a contract that was supposed to last maybe 5 years, and it's 25 years now into it, and a check is just being written every month, whether these services are being, whatever. When the base closed in Afghanistan, more people were upset because again, that ecosystem was all the food services, the sanitation services, the guards, the mechanics, the cleaning, like those all those companies that were there on contract, they were benefiting from that for 20 something years because we were there since 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's wasteful or not, if that's a great example, but that's what I'm referring to but you paint a very good picture about if it's 0.6% or whatever it is, like, yeah, how much money can they be stealing? 0.6%.
Yeah. And keep in mind, foreign aid means foreign aid. That includes all the money to Ukraine, right? It includes all of it. Like the average person does. I don't think the average person, the way they can't comprehend Kendrick's show, they can't comprehend how much money the United States actually has milling about within it.
Mm-hmm.
And that like Ukraine's like, we need $40 billion. Well, yeah, all right.
Well,
it's like if you asked me to let you hold $40, like, yeah, all right.
I mean, if
I mean, like, it's not even a thing.
Yeah, if we're able to do that, then we should not have to have a government. I mean, I'm sorry, a city like Flint, Michigan, not have water. Like if we're able to send $40 billion overseas, like we should not have a city in America without clean water. Like,
but remember what you just said about those government contracts. So Rick Snyder, the governor of Michigan at the time, Nestle, the company, the candy cookie company Nestle, and water company wanted access to some water, and it would require moving Flint and surrounding areas off of the Detroit water system to a different water system.
Okay.
And so the governor did it, and Nestle paid $200 to have this done.
Wow.
So clearly Snyder was getting a kickback from somewhere, allegedly, because the case did he get pardoned by Trump the first time? Whatever. The charges were dropped. So allegedly, but so even in that case, it was government corruption that led to it, because the new water source, like Detroit has the best water or second best water compared to New York. They're 1 and 2, 1A, 1B. So once you got away from that great Detroit water into some other water system, then the old pipes in Flint, that's where they started having the issues.
Mm-hmm.
Was because of that. So even then it was government corruption that led to that. And so, when we talk about, let me see what Paul says here. Paul says, and most of the Ukraine aid is us giving them old military equipment. We're going to throw away. We're not shipping them tons of cash. Right. So, every time that somebody, let me rephrase, these people, Musk and them, are some of the worst people on the planet. And you can do 2 quality sanity checks because of how bad they are. They're like the speed of light. They're a constant sense of bullshit. So you can just sanity check. 1, if you find yourself agreeing with them or them saying something you agree with, really stop and think about that point of view, because they're wrong 97% of the time. In fact, the only thing that Donald Trump has been correct on is that plastic straw should come back. That's it. And that's only because like the environmental savings going from plastic straws to paper straws are like don't make much of a difference. And paper straws don't work for disabled people. Like you need metal or plastic straws for a lot of folks with disabilities. Like plastic straws should be made of plastic. Something else, like you get something else that's made of plastic to make this difference. Straws should not be one of the things. Straws should be made of plastic. Now, Trump doesn't care about any of that. He just thinks like it'll be a political winner. But he's correct that we should go back to plastic straws. So like, yes, I agree with him there. It's one thing we agree on, but I had to really sit and think about it and be like, oh my God, he thinks about the straw thing too. I had to go back and really look at it again because I just wanted to make sure that was right. Ben says, oh, we should get rid of the penny. Credit where credit is due. Getting rid of the penny makes sense. But if you get rid of the penny, all things must cost in multiples of 5. Everything must end in 95 or 0 or 05 for cost. I think it costs $19.99 anymore.
My country doesn't even, my country now is America, but the country we since I was a kid, we don't use change. Like any coins, they don't exist. I mean, they exist in the country, but they're worthless. Quarters, nickels, dimes, pennies, they're worthless. The denominations of bills are 5s, 10s, 100s, thousands, and $5,000 bills.
Yeah.
And I think even some of the smaller denominations are going away now. The exchange rate is it's for every $1 American dollar it's like 28,000 Guyanese dollars, and then we also use British pounds. So here I'm a thousandaire, but there I'm a millionaire.
Right. Yeah. I will say when I went to Japan, exchanging my few $100s into yen, I was like, oh my God. I was like, we're going to get the Lambo. I'm going to get the chain. But it was still only like $400. The yen is just a lot more. So like, I do think that getting rid of the penny makes sense, but I don't think Donald Trump has thought through the fundamental change that will happen everywhere when everything must be priced at ending in 5 or 0. Everything that currently costs ending in 99, 9.99, 8.99, 19.99, they're not going to drop it to 95.
No.
Everything will go up by a penny to that next even round number, which for any one individual purchase, who cares? For every single thing for sale everywhere, will have a negative impact on the things that he wants to have a positive impact on. And he does not have the ability or the patience to explain this to people. It will backfire on him. And he won't understand why.
I honestly think that if to be president of the United States, you need to take a cognitive exam on economics, on history, English, and public speaking. I think those should be like the 4 things that everybody who's running for president, they have to successfully pass, like jump those hurdles to be in the race to become president.
So I don't like that for a couple of reasons. One, standardized testing doesn't actually prove anything because you always just study for the test. And not actually learn anything. And 2, I think those tests would be too easy. I think anybody who wants to run for office has to get a 97% or higher on the citizenship test. Right? Like I think that's what it is. And the long one, like 100 question one, not like the 10 question one you can get. Like the long one.
It was hard for my parents because they weren't born, they didn't. I actually grew up here because I became when I was 18. So I had went through the entire school system from grade to the 12th. So I knew like civics. I helped them like study for the test. But 100 questions. Yes, name all the colonies. I'm
right.
The average person can't do that shit.
Yeah, I took it. The last time I took it, I was like 30, and I got 90 out of 100.
Okay.
And the one I missed, I got John Quincy Adams mixed up. And the other one was I got the year wrong on the Stamp Act or something. Wow. Right. So, but yeah, I think that if you want to represent us in the government, you should know the history of the country and all that. I think that would be fair. But again, every candidate who wanted to would just study for the test and pass the test and forget it. So I don't think it would actually achieve anything, but I think it's a decent idea. But also the primaries, the debates, when we go to vote, we have a good sense of the capability of the people. People didn't vote for Donald Trump because they thought he was more capable than Kamala Harris. Nobody was under the impression that man was smarter than Kamala Harris.
No, I think some people were or are bamboozled or fooled by, they think that he has a great business acumen and he wants to run the country like a business, which is not, because he bankrupt his businesses a couple of times over, right?
Also, you can't run the country like a business because businesses have extremely finite amounts of resources, and so do smaller countries. And your fiscal responsibility to the company and its shareholders must come first. The country can afford to sink billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars into failed research and failed experiments for the one time in 100 they make the internet, right? But a company can't do that. Like their Batman movie, if you sink all your money into the nuclear power generator and never turn it on, you're going to go out of business, right?
Yeah, but who keeps funding that? We do.
Yes, but that's okay because the money invested into R&D with the government. The last study paid out like $7 in economic value over the next 100 years because you keep taking huge swings and huge and big swings. So like, yes, the F-22 is amazing. And there's probably like 13 other fighter jets that like exploded as soon as you turn on the ignition. But a company can't afford all that failure. Yeah. The government could be like, all right, we're back at it again. Here we come. And that's one of the benefits of being in such a rich country, is that the government can put forward all this R&D and just fire off all this money at. Think about how great it would be if the government came out and was like, we're going to offer 1,000 film students $20 million each to make a trilogy of movies. 995 of those trilogies are probably going to be ass. But the 5 that we would get would be amazing, and we would never have them because no movie studio is going to take the same gamble. It wouldn't pay off for them, right? That's just it. No, the government wouldn't do that. They should not be in the business of sinking money into movies necessarily. But it's just an example to show how when they do this with tech and other stuff, it is actually worth it. You know, it's not money lost, it's money invested. And since their money is relatively endless, keep investing it. It will pay off in the end. And that's how you end up with Wi-Fi and internet and freeways.
Mm-hmm. Like by being foreign born, and I'm sorry guys if we lost you in the chat. You know, critical football, and this is you know, year-end show stuff. You know, like where I'm from, we don't pay taxes the way taxes are paid here. And I think you are when you were in Japan, I think you might have probably been in those talks where the way that they're taxed is not like we're taxed here.
Yes,
right? We're taxed on what we make, and we're taxed on the money that we spend.
Yeah,
you know, like so here when they build a house back home, you pay your taxes up front and you own it. Like you know, pretty much done. Here you continuously pay until 30 years or 15 years or whatever mortgage you take.
And you still pay taxes after that.
Yes. So that's why I say that a lot of people look at America as a corporation, more or less, because again, once we're born, we're issued a social security number, or we become a citizen, you're issued a social security number, which makes you taxable. Yeah. Right. So you're not exempt from taxes unless you save a comment saved the plan or whatever. So I think a lot of people who made money during the first Trump presidency, I think they were looking for the 2.0, and it ain't that because he ain't the president.
It's not going to be that for them. It's going to be that for Elon Musk. And I think that by the end of this term, Elon Musk is going to be a trillionaire.
Which means you can buy a president.
He already did.
Yeah.
But you want to know what else you could buy with $1 trillion? Clev, on the show on this. You want to know what else you could buy with $1 trillion? What's
that?
You can buy every NFL team, every NBA team, every Major League Baseball team, every NHL team, 3 times each.
And still have
you can also buy GM, Ford, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and KFC, and you'd still have $10 billion left over.
Jesus, that's insane. That's just if Musk, Zuckerberg, and Bezos gave everyone on the planet, because together collectively they're worth like $900 billion. If they gave everyone on the planet $1 billion, they still would be multi-billionaires.
Incorrect. They'd only be able to do it for 900 people.
Huh?
If you have $900 billion, and you give away $1 billion each,
not $1 billion, $1 million. Like if they gave everyone on the planet $1 million, right? Because what is it like in China? Like 2 billion people or something like that. In India, another billion.
There's like 8 billion total people. If you gave 8 billion people $1 million each, it would be $800 billion. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. And they still would actually be.
I think so. Chat, double check. Paul, you're smart. Double check that math. I think that's right.
But yeah, it's 8 billion people on the planet, right? 8 billion people. And 900 billion. Yeah, I think that math jives. Close.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. If they gave if they gave 8,000 people, 8 billion people $1,000 each, that would be like 8 trillion, right? Because each dollar is $1 billion. Yeah, it doesn't line up. It doesn't line up. Hang on. I'm going to the calculator. 1 second. I have to know now. Nobody told me there'd be math today. I was almost killed by a mirror at work. Clev sucked Jesus on me. Now I gotta try to do math. 1 second here.
Unbelievable, dude.
Okay, so we have 8 billion people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if we gave each of them $1 million,
because Musk by himself is worth $400 billion.
Yeah, no, it's too high. I think it's $1,000 a person.
$1,000 person.
Yeah. Sorry, Ben. Had to yeah, it's been a long time since I had to do any actual math that didn't involve figuring out which side to bet or who to draft afterwards. But yeah, we'll get out of here right now. We'll see everybody next week where we're going to discuss all the new hires in the NFL. So Clev, be sure to brush up on who all the new head coaches are, because there's 7 of them, I think, 7 or 8. We might also make fun of Ohio State for hiring Matt Patricia.
Guy's an actual genius, though. Not at football.
Yeah, well, good luck to Ohio State. I suppose. And yeah, Cleveland, any final words?
Great season, man. You guys held it down. I don't know if I missed much time. Probably missed a week.
I missed the most.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were traveling the world, you know. But over the you're our Eli Manning, you're our Brett Favre over the time that the show's been in existence. So your streak is kind of like undefeated.
If you ever compare me to Brett Favre again, I will fight you. I don't care how bad I will lose. It's an honor thing.
You go.
All right, y'all. We will see everybody next week. Thank you for so much tuning in. Everybody in the chat, everybody leaving comments, anybody liking, sharing the video, all that. We really appreciate it. See y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.